Hey, welcome, folks. Here we are for another Friday Night Tech Talk. And welcome to any of you who coming in for the first time. If it's your first time here, please say hello in the comments. And of course, comment on any story that you like. Glad to have you here. And of course, comment on any story that you like. Always does. Glad to have you. Okay. So far, Eleanor's the first one in. She's the only one that's commented in the comments. So she wished everybody a fabulous day. And so, for, of course, the usual guys, I've sent it out to all the usual guys. So don't know if Mike or Will or Ted or Mark will be joining in. But if they do, I'll certainly bring them in as soon as I see them. And I'm glad for any of you who are here. Okay. If you want to follow the show notes, that's on my website. So let's share that as I do every week. And if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, click on the first story, which is today's date, April Fool's Day. And you can follow all the stories along right here. So rather than stop sharing, I will just go down to the first story. And if any of you haven't seen this, I started with this story just because it just looks so strange. I couldn't resist putting it up first. So I'm going to pull it up. And this is on The Verge. Actually, the story's all over the place. I saw a bunch of people posting about it. But it's Dyson's bizarre new headphones have a built-in air purifier. The Dyson Zone, that's what they're calling it, take on air and noise pollution problems in a wholly unique way. And boy, is it unique. So that's what it looks like. And the head of Dyson was actually walking around, I guess it was New York City, with it on. And it did. You certainly will notice him in the streets. And Mark is in here. Yo, Mark, glad to see you, brother. Come on in if you want or when you want. I know it's, just 5 o'clock where you are. So whenever you're ready, just come on in. Okay, so I'm going to start with this story about this Dyson Dyson headphones, but it's headphones with an air purifier built in. So I'm going to, and by the way, I already saw some buffering on my channel tonight. I don't know why it seems to happen every few weeks. So hopefully we won't have technical issues, but I just wanted to warn you ahead of time. And as Mike has suggested to me to get the T-Mobile Home, and I tried it a couple of weeks ago. Well, it said it wasn't in my area yet. Story came out today. I believe it was today, that they've added 4 new states to T-Mobile Home Internet, and Tennessee was one of them. I go and look on Tennessee. Chattanooga, which is where I am, is on the list. And then I put in my address, and it says, not in your area yet. We'll send you an email when they're there. So I guess they're in Chattanooga. I guess they're just getting started. But when they come to Chattanooga, if T-Mobile Home Internet is as good as Mike says it is, I will be getting that, and hopefully we can get around my landlord's Comcast. So back to the story. So I'm going to go into read a view, get rid of some of these ads. And anybody that comes in late, I'll show the picture again. But this is by Kame Gartenberg. And this is from 2 days ago. Dyson is getting into headphones in the most Dyson way possible, the Zone, a pair of noise-canceling Bluetooth headphones with air purification technology built in, thanks to a bizarre-looking magnetic face visor. It's both the strangest and most ambitious product that the company has ever made. Today's announcement is just an initial reveal of the Zone headphones ahead of a fall release date. So I guess this is pre-production. And Dyson isn't announcing specific details like price or specifications. I'll bet you it's going to cost a ton, including how much the headphones weigh or how long the battery will last at this time. And Renz is in here. Glad to see you, Renz. Glad you're in here. He's off to work, so we'll see you in a little bit, and I hope you have a nice, easy drive to work tonight. Well, I guess today where you are. Renz is in the Philippines, so he's well ahead of us. He's into Saturday already. So the goal of the Zone is to make living in urban spaces more comfortable by attempting to mitigate both air and noise pollution. The air purification half of the Zone doesn't reinvent the wheel for Dyson. Instead, it miniaturizes the company's existing air filtration technology into a unique form factor. You can say that again. The Zone pulls in air through each earpiece it pulls in the air through the earpiece, which I was like, wow, really? Using a pair of tiny compressors. The air is then filtered and piped through the slightly bizarre-looking visor for the user to breathe in, sans most of the particles and pollutants. So it sounds like it might really work. The visor doesn't touch your face, so that's cool. Despite what it looks like, the visor doesn't make contact with your face like a mask would. Instead, it sits in front of your face, creating a gap where a bubble of clean air can gather and be breathed in. The company showed off a separate attachment that could be clipped on in instances where you might need a proper full-face contact mask too. The visor snaps on through a series of magnets, allowing it for it to be removed if you just want to use the headphones as headphones. It also has hinges that flip it down so that you can talk to people normally without having to take off the whole apparatus. Now I'm thinking, okay, so if you flip this down to talk to somebody, it's going to look like a metallic beard, I would think. Anyway, that was just my thought. The Zone's filtration system also offers multiple settings for different levels of exertion. For example, this I think is cool. If you're running up a flight of stairs or trying to catch a bus, you will breathe heavier and need more air than if you're on a leisurely stroll. There's even an automated setting that uses accelerometers to automatically adjust the airflow. I think that's very cool. It sounds like they've really thought this through. Dyson says the Zone can filter out up to 99% of particle pollution. Yeah, that's what we needed during COVID. Although the filters aren't reusable and will need to be replaced after about a year. I'm amazed that the filters last for a year. The company says the exact amount of time will depend on how much air pollution you encounter and how actively you use the headphones. Can you imagine somebody like me who rides a bicycle 3 times a week for 17 or 18 miles? I probably have to replace that thing in a few months. The headphone part is a little more traditional, despite being a new product category for Dyson. The company says its goal with the Zone was to create faithful reproductions of a musician's original tracks. Noise cancellation is provided through a mix of passive cancellation from the overall design and active noise cancellation through a series of microphones. So I say this is very well thought out. There are 3 different modes for noise cancellation on the Zone. Isolation mode has active ANC when the face visor is raised. Lowering the visor automatically shifts into conversation mode, which disables ANC so you can hear the person you're talking to. There's also a transparency mode, which filters out important sounds like car horns and sirens. Charging is done over USB-C, and the headphones connect to a Dyson Link app, which can provide more detailed information on the air quality around you. So it sounds like they've done a good job here. I don't think I want to pay what it's going to cost, but there's their testing platform. I was able to try a prototype of the Zone a few weeks ago, and it certainly seems to do what the company claims. I could feel the jets of air being pumped in front of my face, although I was indoors, so it was hard to tell just how much cleaner it was. ANC worked well too, but again, a quiet hotel room isn't the best test scenario. That's true. And the audio quality for music was good without particularly dramatic bass, which arguably was the company's goal. On the flip side, the Zone headphones are also very big and noticeably heavy. So that's probably pretty important. Dyson has done an admirable job of cramming all this technology into a pair of headphones, but they're still comparatively bigger and bulkier than, say, a pair of Sony WH-1000X M4 headphones. Additionally, the whirring of the compressors was still slightly audible when the motors were running at faster speeds and I wasn't listening to music to drown it out, even despite the noise cancellation. So I guess if you're not listening to any music or anything, you can just barely hear the motors. The Zone is certainly one of the most unique products from Dyson, or likely any company, that we'll see this year. There are still a lot of crucial details we don't know, including price and battery life. And while mask wearing has been normalized considerably over the past 2 years, we'll have to see whether customers will be willing to embrace this extremely odd-looking product. So I'm going to take off free to view again, just so you can see that picture of the actual model wearing it. That is really kind of weird looking, but it sounds like it actually does work. So, Mark is in here. Good timing.
Yo.
Hey.
Hey. How's my audio? Am I okay?
Yeah.
How's my video feed this time?
It looks a lot better. Looks a whole lot better. Sounds good. Looks good.
I don't know if you saw the tweet. Did you see the tweet of the speeds, the before and after of what I was getting? It was so with Xfinity we have a 500. It's like the half gigabit, right? The 500 megabit plan, right. And of that 500, we were getting 0.9.
You're kidding?
Of one. Of the
really?
500. Yeah. So they, we had the technician come out. This was like the next day after I ran the test. He comes in. And I guess they have, special machines to where they can test all of the various. I mean, I don't know how many like a normal house has. I'm guessing,
right.
at least one, maybe two. I think we had like 3 or 4, luckily, because we've had, coax in almost every room. So he's testing them. And the one place where like it makes sense, like that we had our modem because we were like, hey, here's a good spot. And then we, whoever did it, I guess either didn't splice it correctly or maybe like splices are bad in general. Like I don't know too much about like how it is, so I don't know if there's like maybe
that splicing can weaken a signal.
Yeah, but right, okay, so I guess ideally you don't want to splice it, but in this case, I know sometimes you have to splice it, and then I guess it just depends on who's doing it, or if you're using maybe subpar connectors, or you don't do it right. So anyways, that to quote the technician, that crap that it was getting from, by not getting a good signal was being sent. So everyone got crap right in the house with the mesh network that we have, the little pods. So no matter where you were,
the mesh network was sending it everywhere.
So he was like, okay, so anywhere but there, like if you have any of the other, just up to you guys as the customer. So really it's my sister's account. So she was like, well, how about downstairs? Cause it's the converted basement. That's where she works from home. So she was like, okay.
All you had to do was move the modem?
Yep.
Wow. And now what speeds are you getting?
Oh, man. I think we were getting 100. So speeds to the modem, I think 110, 115% of the 500.
Wow. So, that's a huge difference.
So that's what we were able to catch last time. I was like, man, this is horrible.
So the fact that we could see you and hear you at all last week was kind of a miracle.
Seriously, I don't know what happened.
Okay.
That's so trippy. I thought it was going to be something else. Shout out to Sneed. I tweeted him the initial picture, and he said that
you should check him out, folks. He's got a good channel.
Really good stuff. I think he's live now doing the podcast. And then Viper too. Shout out to him. He said that gophers, I think, sometimes can mess with, because I'm thinking what can affect, and then I totally forgot about nature. So my reply was I'll make sure to not recycle this week to see if that will fix any of the gopher problems that I have.
Yeah, we have. Well, Eleanor has chipmunks, and they make holes. So I understand about
Yeah.
gophers. Gophers would be worse.
But here it was just a bad splice, and then we're like,
Okay, so yeah, it
moved
looks great. It sounds great now.
oh yeah, love it.
I'm glad you figured it out because that's terrible.
Oh man, imagine that getting one
Yeah,
9/10
less
of a
than 500
of a 500th that you're getting
Yeah.
for the whole house.
I'm glad you got it.
All right, let's do it.
Did you see any of that first story that I shared?
Yeah, I had it on while I was setting up.
Okay. Can you that picture is I let me share that picture. That picture just blows my mind.
It's the one. It's a second pair of headphones on your mouth, basically, right? It's like one of these boys.
Well,
Yeah.
well, it's an air filtration.
I get how it works.
Yeah.
So I was watching another review about it, and they
Okay.
said this is probably like with most tech, it gets developed way ahead of time, and
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
very likely that this was pre-COVID, because I just learned something from the article that you mentioned, but before I learned that, they were saying because of how it works, it's now the opposite of a mask, which is supposed to keep all your stuff inside.
Right.
That it'll be essentially spreading that person's breath, right? The particles.
Right.
But then you mentioned in an article that they did come up with some sort of a cover, or how does that work? Because if they solve that problem, then problem solved. Otherwise, not until this virus is handled, you don't. I mean, I would imagine that even after that would be bad, because regular cold and regular flu,
Right.
anything that person has could be potentially
Yeah,
spread.
that person would be putting it out. It sounds
Yeah.
like it protects that person nicely, but
Yeah. Exactly. So
anyway,
or
go ahead.
everyone has one. Everyone needs to wear one.
Well, that could be. Can you imagine what these things are going to cost, though? I'm thinking $1,000, $1,200 minimum.
What's your health worth to you, George?
Um,
That's how they get you, right?
But I don't worry about my health. My health is much better than most people's, even though I did get my Omicron. I had my little bout with Omicron. But I always take the attitude that my health will beat it. I'll give you, for instance, when I was at Blue Cross, when I was still programming, I guess I was there maybe 7 years, and I got a stomach flu, a 1-day stomach virus one day. I call in the morning to my boss, and I said, well, I'm sick. I got a stomach virus. And all he said was, you're sick? He couldn't imagine me being sick, because it just doesn't happen to me often.
He checks the caller ID. This is George, right? George, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
You don't get sick.
It's pretty. What I always tell people is, it's not impossible to make me sick, but it's pretty difficult.
Don't even experts say you're supposed to get sick anywhere from 1 to 3 times a year, which is like a nice normal amount.
I'm failing that by a whole lot. I get sick about once every 3 or 4 years. And it usually lasts me days, when other people it lasts weeks.
Not even
now, the Omicron with the breathing issue, even though the Omicron was gone in about 3 or 4 days, the breathing issue just got better. Because the first time I rode the bicycle, the week after the Omicron went away, I normally ride 17 miles. I couldn't ride more than 3 1/4 miles that first time.
Oh, wow.
My breathing was like, and it just got better and better and better every week until now. It's almost back to normal. So,
that's good. I mean, I took a break from I don't know if many people can tell. I've said it before. This is the monitor for the Peloton that I got right here. So it's just off to the side. When I would use it, I would try to, I don't have the membership anymore, but you could still do like a free ride just to do it without a program or an instructor or anything. But when I would do that, I would try to at least not just when you start pedaling to whatever pace. The same thing with running. Like if I would pick a pace, don't stop. Just, if you want to run for 10 minutes, 15, 20,
just
30,
make
whatever.
it steady.
Just keep, it's nice and steady. And I would try to do, I think 4 miles pedaling is about the same, cardio work as 1 mile running. So I would try to do at least that 1 mile equivalent every day. So even sometimes when I'll get right up to the halfway point, I'll get up there pretty quickly. But I was noticing, I was like, oh man, this amount of time that I spend sitting on the couch, watching TV or YouTube or whatever, I'm like, okay, maybe I should take my YouTube onto the bike and then
Exactly.
kind
That's
of
what
do
I
that.
do.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
because even
Now
still,
you said I used to. Don't tell me you stopped.
I had taken a break, but I've done, I think, 3 or 4 days out of the last 2 weeks on just the Peloton, in addition to Tonal. So Tonal's that cable smart home gym. I do that every day.
Yeah, I've seen it somewhere. Yeah.
That one I do every day. Yeah.
Okay, because you did mention, was it last week? I think that you were going to get back into it. So I'm glad you're doing it.
Yeah. So the Tonal, I just finished technically 4-week program. I'm like on week 5 or week 6. I started a new program, but as far as that would be enough to wipe me out. So I was doing just the weightlifting aspect of it. I was putting this on the back burner, and then I did, I think, 3 or 4 sessions in the last 2 weeks. So
good.
To do that, because my priority was strength training, and then
I was wondering if that's an age thing, because until I was, I'd say 60, even though I've been exercising for 41 years now, I would put more emphasis on the weight training. But now I put much more emphasis on the cardio part, and I do weight training 2 or 3 times a week.
Now, as far like what the research that I've done is, it's depending on your goals. It's if you want to prioritize cardio and endurance and all that, then you do that first. Whether you do it first thing or it doesn't matter what time of the day that you do it, but as long as you do that with being fresh. And then doing any weight trainings after or on the off days. And then right now I'm doing the opposite, which I would want, let me try to bulk up as much of this muscle as I can while I'm at a relatively young age, right? And then cardio has almost never really been an issue for me. And that's probably the years that I've spent playing soccer and winning championships and swimming every day at my old house and riding my bike. And riding my bike to school, all those so many years ago. So that's so now, and then that same thing, just flip it to where if you're focused more on muscle mass and gains and that kind of endurance, then do that first thing, and then if you want to add cardio on top or the next day, then do that. But while you're fresh would be either or, because that way you can get the most out of the workout by being fresh.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm very proud of you, Mark. You're doing well. Keep it up.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, you too. I want to see more muscle on you though. I don't know if you probably can't see it.
One thing I can tell you is, I guess in the last couple of years, I'm thin looking. I'm told I still hit a whole lot harder than most people. Keep in mind, one of my favorite things to do is punch a heavy bag.
Okay, see, that's good. There you go.
So I've always been told I hit very, very, very hard. So, which is a good thing.
And then they say for your thighs, right?
No, they don't really say that.
They don't say that?
I've always had very fast hands and feet. For 7'7", I still have very fast hands and feet. I have very, very fast reactions. Maybe some of that's due to the fact that I love driving so much. And if you drive as much as I do, you're going to have to keep your reactions up. Well, my reactions are still pretty quick. So anyway, I'm very happy about it, and God blesses me to be able to be healthy and do this stuff.
That's right. The tech gods, right?
No, not the tech gods.
Well,
God.
In this episode of your show,
Tech Talk.
Okay, tech
all right, it'll be the tech gods in this episode.
All right.
You're such a weirdo. All right, going on to the next. Now, you got the stories?
Let's see here. I got the show notes. That's the same thing, right?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah. Do you want to do the OnePlus 10 or you want me to do it?
You do that one. Let me take a look. Skip ahead.
Okay. All right. Because I have 2 OnePlus 10s in a row. The second one's kind of a short.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to bring up the next one, and this share screen. And this is from Engadget. And this has to do with the OnePlus 10 because that was the big announcement this week, even though it's been out 3 months in China. So this is on Engadget, and they finally announced it for the rest of the world. That's why on my notes I said OnePlus 10 Pro finally revealed for the rest of us because it's been 3 months in China. So this is their OnePlus 10 review. And he said at the top, well, it charges fast, it falls short of greatness, which is kind of negative, but when you read the article, he's not all that negative. So I will stress the one thing that I've seen everybody say about it, but we'll get to that. So I'm going to go to read a view, get rid of some of these ads. Okay. Comparisons with last year's OnePlus 9 Pro come up again. Oh, wait. How did I get here? Let me get out of reader view for a second. Okay. Last year's OnePlus 9 Pro was one of the best phones of 2021. What surprised some of us? The company substantially improved the cameras and packaged a high-spec phone in a premium body. Now, after several other OnePlus phones have launched with lower prices and lesser specs, the $899 OnePlus 10 Pro is finally here. The phone has long been available in China, and the company has been teasing its new flagship since January. With a cheaper price, a 6.7-inch 120 Hz AMOLED screen, Snapdragon's latest processor, a bigger battery, and a gorgeous new green color option, the OnePlus 10 Pro sounds like it has everything it needs to repeat the success of its predecessor. But I'm feeling underwhelmed. So pros and cons: fast charging, screen, fast fingerprint and face unlock, competitive price. Mediocre telephoto camera. Everybody says that telephoto camera is just terrible. And too similar to the OnePlus 9 Pro, which I think is this guy's biggest problem with it. So now let's see if I can go to reader view, because I think it's going to start in that spot. Let's see. No.
You got to start all over.
Yeah, I'll go back out of reader view. It looks very different in reader view. Okay. The camera unit, which includes 3 sensors and a flash, which you can see right here, is surrounded by metal which bleeds over to the edge of the frame of the 10 Pro, which you see right here. It's an understated design touch, but I'm glad it looks different from older OnePlus models. It's Oppo step siblings, try to say that 5 times.
Step siblings,
and other phones doing the same old camera sensor layout. Different is good. The rest of the phone's back is covered in translucent finish that reminds me of the back of the iPhone 13 Pro, which I guess is a good thing. The OnePlus logo seems to be etched into this. I actually thought it was a sticker at first. There's still some Hasselblad branding too along the side of the camera unit, but thankfully it's a little subtler than previous designs. OnePlus's alert slider has clung on for its 8th year. Everybody loves the alert slider. Once again, it's located above the power button and switches between silent, vibrate, and full volume modes, each of which can be manually adjusted to your perfect levels. If you have anything to say while I'm reading, just interrupt and we'll talk about it. Mm-hmm. There's a USB-C port supporting 80-watt Super VOC charging and stereo speaker grills along the bottom edge. Well, there's 80-watt for everybody else. We'll get to that. Finally, as usual, there's a volume rocker on the left edge. OnePlus has upgraded the selfie camera to a 32-megapixel sensor, but it's still a pinhole camera set in the left top corner of the display. The front-facing camera worked with face unlock, while there's also an in-screen fingerprint scanner. Both seem faster than OnePlus's last-gen phone, and the fingerprint sensor has been shifted higher up on the phone panel, making it easier to access. That's a good thing. While the OnePlus 10 Pro looks different from last year's 9 Pro, there's an awful lot of spec overlap. Both models have the same size screen and run at 1440 x 3216 resolution with adaptive refresh rates of up to 120 Hertz. This year's phone does have an upgraded LTPO display, however, which OnePlus says is better optimized for dynamic changes in refresh rates. That's good. But you'd be hard-pressed to notice any difference between the 10 Pro and the 9 Pro screens. Both are crisp, bright, and colorful. While more and more phones are beginning to arrive with adaptive refresh rates, OnePlus does it better than most, dipping as low as 1 Hertz for static content on your phone screen, meaning less power jump. Well, that's very good. According to OnePlus, the upgraded screen should translate to 1.5 hours of additional use versus last year's OnePlus 9 Pro. Cameras. Now, to me, that's a gorgeous picture. I don't know how it comes across on screen to you guys, but looking at it directly here, it's a beautiful picture, I think. Comparisons with last year's OnePlus 9 Pro come up yet again with the cameras. The company heralds this as its second-generation Hasselblad camera with improvements to the OnePlus billion-color solution, which still struggles to sell itself as a compelling feature. I can understand that. And an updated Hasselblad Pro mode, which I'll explain later. Glancing at the spec sheet, even if the camera array itself looks notably different, the OnePlus 10 Pro has very similar camera sensors. And in fact, there's actually one less than last year's OnePlus 9 Pro. Yes, we've lost the monochrome sensor, which shouldn't be a big deal. It was a low 2-megapixel sensor, and I didn't miss it at all. Otherwise, all the numbers match. A 48-megapixel primary sensor, 50-megapixel ultra-wide lens, this time capturing across 150-degree views. Well, that's good. And like the OnePlus 9 Pro, a middling 8-megapixel telephoto option that tops out at 3.3x optical zoom. Every other, I've seen maybe 3 or 4 other reviews, and they're saying that that telephoto is just terrible. So nobody likes it. My experience matches what Chris Velasco said last year in his review of the 9 Pro. The primary sensor captures detailed images, especially in well-lit surroundings. Well, everybody does that. OnePlus has further refined the sensor to improve dynamic range and noise reduction in images, and you'll still get the best shots from the Pixel Bin 12-megapixel mode. If you do want to capture all the detail, you can, however. There's a high-res shooting mode that's easily accessible through most of the camera's apps modes. Well, that's very good, I would think. The new ultra-wide camera gets a few tricks too, including a new fisheye capture mode that's a bit of a gimmick, but it's fun nonetheless. Yeah, I think that picture looks great. You can switch between a mild and strong fisheye effect. I'm not going to win photography awards, but the results are clean and it's a harmless addition. I can see where that could be fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
If that were my daughter, I'd take that picture and frame it.
Yeah, in a circle frame.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. The telephoto camera remains the weakest part of the OnePlus camera setup. Given the 8-megapixel resolution, shots seem blurry and low on detail. He's being kind to compare what other people have said about it. Sometimes
good press. He wants some good press, I think, too.
I guess. Well, this isn't Gadget.
People to keep reading his stuff, right? If you want to keep going to Engadget for our news.
I guess. Sometimes my photos just lack color and vitality, which is a shame because I use the telephoto cameras on phones a lot as it offers some degree of compositional freedom when framing my shots. I can't believe I just wrote the phrase compositional freedom. That's cool. See, I like it when a person's real character comes through when they're writing. That's great. OnePlus's flagship held its own against an iPhone 13 Pro and Pixel 6 Pro, but it wasn't the best. The cameras occasionally struggled with scenes with high dynamic range. Now, here's 3 photos, and I guess he did them in 10 Pro, then iPhone, then Pixel 6 Pro, but let's see if we can.
They look pretty good.
Yeah, I think it looks, but compared to the other 2, see, that's still a OnePlus. That should be the iPhone 13 Pro, and that should be the Pixel 6.
Oh, okay. So you're saying it's a little test for us.
Yeah. So in this, I think the iPhone 13 looks the best. Now there's the Pixel 6 Pro. I'm seeing too much lighting, too much lighting from the Pixel 6 Pro. I think, just my opinion. But anyway, I think that one looks the best. And to me, the 10 Pro is close to the Pixel, but I think iPhone beat them both on that one. Just my opinion, of course.
I don't see that it's labeled on my end.
No, I just went by the way he wrote it here. So I'm thinking that had to be the 13 followed by the Pixel 6 Pro. I could be wrong, but I'm guessing. And looking at the pictures, both of them did look a little bit better than this one. So,
I think he talks about it afterwards.
okay. When shooting this scene with a plant in front of an open fire and a bright neon sight in the background, the 10 Pro couldn't quite tame the aggressive lighting, blowing out the neon light a little too much. Yeah, here. Okay. The iPhone captured the scene in slightly warmer tones, while the Pixel seemed cooler. Did it seem cooler to you? It didn't seem cooler to me.
I think they were about the same. Well, I mean, I would say vibrant.
Unless this is the Pixel. Yeah.
The third one's
I thought the third one was the Pixel. Maybe this one's the iPhone, because the cooler one is certainly this middle one, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I wonder. Here, let me make sure.
I thought took the best picture.
I'm looking at it here on my iPad here.
Okay.
They seem the same temperature to me.
Oh no, not on my screen. Of course, I'm on a Windows screen. But the middle one is certainly very different than the other two, because both of the other two here are blowing out the light.
It looks a little dull, actually.
Oh, see, he's saying cooler. Anyway, to me, that's the one that looks the best. Well, which one looks best to you?
I think the middle one looks the most realistic to what you would see.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying.
The third one's a little more blown up. Like it looks like there's a low light capturing happening, whether it's processing.
Yeah,
you know how
I think they process it too much.
But, that long exposure.
But they both did a better job. Look at the neon sign. The neon sign was terrible on this one.
In the first one, yeah.
So anyway, so he explains it. But let's continue on. The iPhone seemed cool. When I compared the photos, however, it was the OnePlus 10 Pro, even if it lacked the detailed dynamic range, that had near the colors of the room. So he's saying it got the colors the best. So that lighting thing is just the only problem, I think. Perhaps that Hasselblad partnership is actually working. Even then, I would prefer a more accurately colored shot or a wider dynamic range. The latter. So he liked dynamic range. I had to see if anything had truly changed between the two OnePlus flagships, so I compared a few sample photos. While many were indistinguishable from each other, the 10 Pro edged out last year's 9 Pro when it came to nighttime photography, which could be due to computational improvements and a faster chip, or OnePlus's own internal calibrations and tweaks. Having said that, OnePlus's night photography and AI assistants are a little too heavy-handed for my liking. Yeah, this is very much everybody's separate taste. They made some low-light scenes look artificially bright. Software-wise, the new Hasselblad Pro mode works across all three camera sensors. That's good. Adding fine control like ISO levels as well as 12-bit RAW capture for those willing to deep dive into image editing. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever used RAW capture and then do editing with like Lightroom or anything?
Actually, no. I did I tell you that before? I tried to not edit photos. I wanted to be as accurate as what I actually saw, because that's like, for example, say I'm riding passenger in someone's car on, like, driving from here to the next town over, and like a sunset, right? And there's like I'm like, oh, that looks cool, or like some clouds, a cloud formation off with the horizon, and I want to share that, capture that and send it to someone. I want it to be accurate to what I saw, because that's kind of that whole. Isn't that, like, hey, look, check this out. Here's a little quick snapshot.
That's kind of what I shoot for when I'm doing comparisons, but I want it to be as much auto as possible without me messing with it at all. So,
but accurate, right? Not
hopefully accurate. Yes, but I like to show people what they're going to get in auto, because most people are going to shoot in auto. Most people are not going to go with the pro mode and stuff. Anyway, I just noticed Ted is in here. He's currently enjoying. How do you say that?
Ceviche.
Ceviche and MX. You guys rock out. What is ceviche, since you know what it is and I don't?
It's racist, first of all, Ted, when I told him in the comments, because, I just happen to be of a Mexican descent, and that's offensive. Because he's not Mexican, so he's not allowed to eat it. No, it's a seafood. So specifically the kind that I just had recently is a shrimp based. So you'll get some shrimp, you get onions, and you can get tomatoes, cilantro, and you would cook the shrimp with lime juice. That acidity, you let it sit for a while. Then once it changes from that raw to that nice or actually it's sometimes it doesn't get as bright, but it does change colors, and then that's when you know that it's safe to eat. You can put that on a tostada with some, either some cream or mayo, or even like a Latin mayo that may have some hint of lime in it.
Sounds like something I would like.
Oh yeah, it's light too. You could eat a lot of it, and it won't really. It's really flavorful. It doesn't really it's not heavy, so it doesn't fill you up.
Doesn't fill you up. Okay, Brian's in here too. Hey, Brian, thank you as always, sir. You're very kind.
Friends. Yeah.
He's saying hi,
Renz. Now they're here.
Okay. And Renz obviously got to work as Renz is back. So that's good. Okay. All right. Let me go back to the story, see if I can get it finished. Software-wise.
This is a long article.
Yes, it is. Software-wise, the new Hasselblad Pro mode works across all three camera sensors. Oh, I said that. I was asking you about the RAW. OnePlus's RAW Plus image format is also here, which attempts to combine all the information of a photo, but it's augmented by the computational image capture we've seen most phones over the last few years. Well, that's like the new Samsung app that you can download in RAW and do the same type of thing, which I'm probably going to take out the 21 Ultra and try to compare in the RAW with the auto and see what happens. Was I using RAW Plus capture over the stripped down auto mode? Most of the time, no, but it's more flexible for users willing to push the 10 Pro's cameras to their limit. Performance and software. OnePlus has long been able to balance streamlined Android experience close to stock while adding its own tweaks and features. The OnePlus 10 Pro continues that approach despite the closer calibration with Oppo, and a shared code base. In fact, the latest version of OnePlus's Oxygen OS version 12 was apparently one of the reasons that the 10 Pro took so long to arrive after its debut. Well, that's true, because they were going to try to combine it with Oppo, and it didn't work. So naturally, they had to go back and work on Oxygen OS, and that's one reason it took longer. With more time needed to tweak the software for regions beyond China. And that's probably why we didn't see it for 3 months since China got it. I still appreciate the ability to easily switch off OS additions I don't need. The OnePlus Shelf is a pop-up menu that can be pulled down from the top right corner of the phone. It groups together several adjustable tiles like those widgets you've been able to add to your home screen on Android phones for about a decade. That's cool. In short, I don't need it, and I would get frustrated when it pops up instead of the standard Android drop-down menu containing setting toggles and my notification. Thankfully, I can just tap the settings cog inside the shelf and turn the entire feature off. Well, it was getting aggravated by it. That's good. One addition I won't be disabling is a new AI adaptive brightness feature that OnePlus 10 Pro can learn your display brightness preferences and make adjustments, hopefully before you do. That's cool. Artificial intelligence features inside smartphones are often hard to notice in day-to-day use. Think battery optimization features that are meant to adapt to how you use your phone and reduce power consumption. That's true. Most people aren't even going to notice that. But OnePlus's adaptive brightness soon appeared when I would check the 10 Pro in the early hours of the morning, helping to shield me from unnecessarily bright screen before I'd even had my coffee. So this is a guy you don't want to mess with in the morning, I would think. There are a few gaming improvements to make the most of Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip. The HyperBoost game engine, they made a big deal about that. Courtesy of Opera, tries to stabilize frame rates during gaming sessions, while also increasing the responsiveness of the touchscreen through a new feature called OSync. Both suffer from my issues with behind-the-scenes AI optimizations. It's also not compatible with streaming games from Xbox Cloud or Stadia, which is how I game on smartphones most of the time. And he did say tries to stabilize frame rates during gaming, so it sounds like it isn't always successful. The OnePlus 10 Pro wasn't phased by anything I threw at it, which has been true for most phones powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. When playing a video on repeat, the 5,000 milliamp battery took over 14 hours to run down, which isn't great compared to roughly 17 hours from Samsung's Galaxy S22 Plus. Yes, I can attest to that because that's the one I have right here. Benefiting from Oppo's R&D, the OnePlus 10 Pro supports 80-watt SuperVOOC charging. Yes, fast charging isn't anything new for OnePlus, but damn, this is genuinely fast. With the appropriate charger, don't worry, there's one included with the phone. The 10 Pro can be, not many people can say that now, can be fully charged in a mere 32 minutes. That is fast. If you want even faster charging, OnePlus says 80-watt SuperVOOC can charge the phone from 0 to 61% in just 15 minutes. That's cool.
That's
got the same figures. Yep. You too fast?
That's too fast. I need some time to get myself together and process them.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I got around the same figures when recharging the phone myself. That's what I was thinking. Going to the bathroom. It's a strong feature.
Real fast, the same thing about the new Apple Silicon. I've seen some reviews that like people's rituals are getting jumbled up because when they would say render something or finish an export,
it's too fast.
And they would go, and then there's no time to get the coffee and no time to maybe let the dog out of the restroom or stuff like that.
I understand.
What do I do now?
Exactly. You continue working and forget the coffee, I guess.
Well, that's a bad thing sometimes.
That is a bad thing. It's a strong feature and importantly something that OnePlus 9 Pro doesn't have. Now, here's what I was saying before about this 80-watt charger. Unfortunately, U.S. owners won't get an identical experience. In a forum discussion on the OnePlus site, the company clarified, in North America, the OnePlus 10 Pro supports 65-watt SuperVOOC. This is because 80-watt SuperVOOC does not currently support 110 or 120 volt AC power, which is what we have in this country. The typical here and Canada, the typical standard for power outlets in the region, a 65-watt charging speed would still be the fastest phone charging standard in the U.S., but it's hard not to feel a bit shortchanged compared to other regions. That is true. But 65 watts is still pretty freaking fast, faster than anything else we've got. Okay, almost done. OnePlus was on a roll. Last year, it proved it could deliver a true high-end smartphone rival to the likes of iPhone and Galaxy S series, OnePlus 9 Pro. But with the OnePlus 10 Pro, the company has struggled to push the envelope further. The OnePlus 10 Pro has impressive fast charge capabilities, a gorgeous screen that's incrementally better than last year's model, while Oxygen OS continues to add more to the Android experience without derailing it. I especially like how the green version looks, but at the same time, the smartphone competition moves fast. You can say that. In the U.S., OnePlus is selling. Oh, yeah, here's another one where we get shortchanged. In the U.S., OnePlus is selling the black and green models with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage for $899, which I guess is a fair price and cheaper than the other two. Mm-hmm. The company says the versions with 12 gigabytes and 266 gigabytes of storage will arrive later, but the prices. So right now you can buy the 12 256 in Europe, but you can't buy it here because it isn't offered here yet. So we got shortchanged again.
You would have to have someone mail it to you, or how would that even work?
Exactly. Well, as a matter of fact, one of the British guys that I watched, he wanted to compare the American version of the Samsungs, and of course we have the Snapdragon, and they have the Samsung. So he actually imported it just so he could compare them. But I guess that's all you can do if you want the other features.
Yeah, I think don't we have some other tech YouTubers and members of the tech community that we're a part of across the pond? Maybe they can send us some.
Yeah, that would be great.
Like iCave Dave and the other gentleman. Oh man, I'm blanking on it.
Yeah, I won't say. Keep in mind, even if they send us one, since we only have 110 and 120, we're not going to get that 80-watt fast.
Well, again, like sometimes, you know how they like the whole point of tech is that they give you like more of your time back. It's like sometimes it's like, well, having tech take up some time as part of the fun, at least for an enthusiast like myself. It's like
Okay,
to
I
spend the time
understand.
with my tech, sometimes too, because then, or maybe that's the anti-social part of me, to where it's like, oh well, I was gonna run an
Antisocial.
errand, but my watch needs to charge, and that's gonna take however long it takes, and maybe I can grab a
Okay.
snack.
See, I never would have thought of it that way, but you are right. So.
Yeah, because you would. I mean, why knowingly, consciously leave especially us tech fans, leave the house with nothing less than 80%? I'll say.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. You got a
even
point.
cutting you that slack. I would say top off all the time, but
that's what I tend to do.
Yeah, top it off all the time, because we're not keeping the the phones for battery degradation past 95 maybe percent, 98.
Exactly.
97.
Yeah, that's what they say. But I always top mine off.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm not going to read the rest, but
well, you're already at the bottom. You're already you read the whole article there.
So according to him, he sounds like he's not quite impressed, but the way he writes it, it sounds like a pretty strong phone. But in the end, he does say it's not quite as good as the iPhone 13 Pro or the Galaxy S22.
But that's expected, right?
Yeah, I would think it's expected. And since he said it has incrementally improved, I don't see where you can complain. Just my opinion, of course. And it is cheaper than the other two at $900. So so now I have one more. So I guess I'll do the follow-up one too. I just wanted to show people that. Let me share that one. This is still on the OnePlus 10 Pro. And this was kind of important to me. This was on CNET. The OnePlus 10 Pro will not work with AT&T's 5G networks. Kind of important. OnePlus's latest flagship phone will work fine on T-Mobile and should be okay for Verizon, but it won't get 5G on AT&T at all. So I'm going to read it for you. So it sounds like it works best with T-Mobile and just okay with Verizon. So, like most phones, the new OnePlus 10 Pro 5G will be sold unlocked. Its 5G performance, however, will vary considerably based on which U.S. carrier you have. And if you're on AT&T, it won't work with 5G at all. OnePlus's latest will work fine on T-Mobile's low-band and mid-band 5G networks, which it calls extended range 5G and ultra capacity 5G, respectively. This makes sense, as T-Mobile also happens to be the only carrier offering the $899 phone directly to its users. The Chinese, that I didn't know until I read this. The Chinese phone maker is also working with Verizon to get the phone certified for its low and mid-band 5G networks, which Verizon calls 5G nationwide and 5G ultra-wideband, respectively. And Verizon always takes longer to certify phones than anybody else. They just have a habit of doing that.
So you're saying Verizon sucks?
No, I'm just saying they always take longer to certify anything. They just always do. They're the last ones to always certify a phone. I think because they have a reputation for throwing in more of their own junk than anybody else.
So you're saying not the company, but the people that work at Verizon suck?
No, it's the company, because they want all their stuff included in the phone.
Gotcha.
Yes, which is more than the other companies do, but they're almost always the last one to certify a phone.
So then it sounds like they have more stringent standards then. So then they don't suck.
Stringent and
more stringent, stricter.
I think it's because Verizon is greedier than everybody else, and that's always been my opinion, and it's still my opinion. Though it's unclear if the phone will be ready to go on Verizon's network when it releases April 14th. I'll bet you it's not. With AT&T, however, OnePlus confirmed to CNET that there are no plans to support its 5G network. So just be aware, folks, if you get the OnePlus 10 Pro, you're not going to get 5G on AT&T at all.
Doesn't sound very pro.
Well, not on AT&T. I guess it's very pro on T-Mobile,
Oh, that's right.
Putting an AT&T SIM card into an unlocked OnePlus 12, I was limited to just 4G LTE, 3G, or 2G cellular connections. This was despite the phone listing the proper technical support for AT&T's low-band 5G networks and 2 and 5 net 66, as well as the right band for C-band, mid-range and 77 on its spec sheet. So according to this, it has the bands, but it won't get anything above 4G LTE. The OnePlus 10 Pro lacks millimeter wave. Of course it does. And therefore won't work on the higher frequency favorite 5G regardless of carrier. Well, I think Verizon is the only one that has millimeter wave anyway. Plus, you walk through, you just pass by millimeter wave and it cuts off the signal. So I've never seen the point of millimeter wave.
To show off that you have it, you take the screenshot the second that you have it, and then you tweet that everywhere for like a week.
It is super fast, but what's the point of if you can just walk by it or walk past the telephone pole and bam, it disappears for a second? That makes no sense to me.
I just told you the reason, George, for the screenshots, and you tweet it and show off to the tech honeys.
I guess I'm not much of the show-off type anymore. I used to be years ago.
I'm telling you, that's the only reason. So you asked for the reason. I told you the reason. That's the reason.
Okay.
All
right. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew that you're not going to get 5G on AT&T. All right. Now,
or also, that's wherever you do find it and the little icon appears, that's your new chill spot. That's where you're chilling.
Oh,
Set up shop right there. Perfect.
Renz, thank you as always, Thing.
Renze.
And I hope you have a very blessed weekend and you don't have to work too hard because Renz is at work. So
no, keep working hard so we can keep super chatting.
There you go.
And the world keeps spinning.
You want to do the Google story?
Don't I love Google? Let me.
Well, it's basically a Chrome browser story. I'm going to.
Oh, even better. One of their best products as a Google conglomerate that they have available is Chrome.
I use Chrome for everything, so I can't say anything.
Is this the right one? Google announces 0-day hack.
Yes.
They got hacked? You're going to make me read. Oh, this is going to be good. Okay.
Well, they did get hacked, but all you have to do is update. But go ahead and read it.
Google announces 0-day hack that can affect 3.2 billion users.
Yep.
And this was March 28th. Google issued an emergency update on its website telling the users of the Chrome browser that there is a 0-day hack named CVE-2022-1096 that the hackers are using against the 3.2 billion users of the search engine. That's a lot of users.
That's how many people use Chrome.
Is that half of the Earth?
Yes, it is.
It's like about half of the Earth right there. That's a big vulnerability. I'm glad they closed it or are going to close it. A 0-day hack means that the tech companies are not yet aware of the details of the vulnerability. Tech giants said that the users are already exposed to the threat. The update to version 99.0.4844.84 of the browser is now available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Companies said Google is aware that an exploit for CVE 2022-1096 exists in the wild. According to the company, CVE 2022-1096 is a type confusion in V8. Google has not revealed any other information on the matter as it does not want the hackers to gain more technical details about the JavaScript that Chrome employs. Among the other tech giants, Microsoft has also agreed that the same vulnerability exists in its Chromium-based Edge browser as well. Well, that makes sense. In its Security Response Center, the company wrote the vulnerability assigned to this CVE is in Chromium open source software, which is consumed by Microsoft Edge, Chromium-based. Experts believe that since the vulnerability is affecting Chromium-based browsers, the users of Amazon Silk, Opera, Samsung Internet, Brave, and many other browsers are also at risk. ExxonMobil gets. Oh, this is the links. Okay, so
So all you have to do is make sure you have the latest version of Chrome or whichever browser you're using, because they've all updated it. And if you update to the latest version, you're safe.
Well, the same can be said, George, about people who take their time and drag their feet to update, because if you didn't install this vulnerability, then you never had it. So updating is the same thing that got most of those people that are in this mess.
Well, that's true.
And this is just me wanting to get it a little spicier here while we're.
But since it seems to affect everybody's browsers, you're better off at this point updating it.
That's one of the bad things. I mean, and again, it's just the nature of that something as widespread, something as. I mean, I don't know too much about like developing or what have you, but like, do people choose Chromium because it's widely available? Is it easier? Is it to make their internet on top of that?
I think generally people use it because it's so widely available. But keep in mind, for 12 years ago, whatever, the most popular version was Microsoft's browser, and Chrome took over. So people liked it better. And
That
now
was which
I
one?
think you're right. I think most people have it, and most people stick with it. I stick with it for the same reason, Which reminds me,
who are your top three? Who are your top three internet browsers?
I guess it would be Chrome, followed by what's Microsoft's again? I forgot.
Internet Explorer, or is that a different one?
No, that's the old one.
That one used to be mine for a long time. I don't know. I just kind of like the logo of it, and then just was using that one.
That's what everybody went to Chrome from.
Yeah, or also AOL way back when. I think my dad still uses that. He still uses their email and all that. I don't
really.
Yeah,
and I'm always surprised whenever I hear that. That just blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. And then I think, I don't know if he's using Chrome now, but still essentially doing everything inside of AOL. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you can still go to the main thing, and because that's where the email is, so that's where he gets the news and all that from there. And for me, obviously, because of Apple would be Safari is the main one that I took over after that, and then sometimes. Like StreamYard, for example, they don't like Safari sometimes, so they sometimes will let you. True. Sometimes they'll make you open up Chrome, or they'll suggest Firefox.
But see, I follow their live broadcast every Sunday, and from what they've said going back months, I think it's gotten a lot better with Safari. But I don't use Safari. But from what they're saying, I think it's probably a whole lot better. So let me show something that I saw just before I started. And let me share it because I think it's kind of important for all of us who use iOS. iOS, this was on Forbes. iOS 15.4.1 update now warning issued to all iPhone users. And the update is out there. I haven't updated mine yet.
I checked earlier, and I'm still nothing popped up. It says, "Hey, 15.4, you're all good." So. I don't know what happened. Yeah,
well, they want 15.4.1 along with wanting to update now. That's because iOS 15.4.1 comes with a single security fix for a major issue that is already being used by adversaries to attack iPhones. Apple doesn't give a lot of detail about what's fixed in iOS 15.4.1 to allow as many iPhones as possible to be updated before more attackers can get a hold of the details. According to Apple's support page, iOS 15.4.1 patches a vulnerability in Apple AVD, which could allow an application to execute arbitrary code with kernel privilege. Yeah, you don't want that.
That's so dangerous.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure I showed that to people. So if you have an iPhone...
You waited till an hour into the stream? That wasn't your first story, George?
It was because we were talking about vulnerabilities. Apple. Hey, I'm old. I forgot about it till now. At least I'm telling the truth.
This guy always throwing his age in everyone's face.
I don't think I updated mine either.
You know what? Mine doesn't show up. I have automatic updates always, for downloading and installing, and it says, "Hey, you're up to date, 15.4." So come get this iPhone, I guess. I mean,
I already have it. 15.4.
I mean, please don't. You have it, but it's not installed. It's not on. It's not on your phone yet.
Oh, you're right.
Get his phone, everyone. Instead of my iPhone, get his iPhone. Teach him.
I'm going to do it while we're broadcasting.
It's just whole timer a lesson. Hurry. I don't know why that's so weird. Hey, I got UC on the 5G UC on the thing on the top. So if I don't move,
go ahead.
I'll have very, very fast ultra wideband or whatever it's called.
There you go.
Stay perfect.
So anyway, I just want to let people know about it. And Miss E had told me that she had the update today, but I was at work. And then I came home and got busy with this stuff. But I'm updating right now, so there.
Came home and got busy, huh?
Exactly. Okay.
That's good.
All right, I'm going to go on to the next story.
All right.
Which
Only
I think is,
four more to
kind of
go.
cool.
Right? One.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not keeping track normally. I think there's 8 stories altogether, I think.
5. Okay.
All right, I'm going to share screen. I've got the flashing. Let's stop sharing. Usually when I do it the second time, it's okay.
Well, they can follow us along in the show notes, right? We're going to the
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Repair
Okay.
bandwagon.
All right. This was on CNET, and this story again was all over the place. This is kind of a big deal for people. You can soon repair Galaxy S21, other Samsung devices yourself, but they started with the S21, which I have right here too. Samsung is launching a program to send out parts, tools, and step-by-step guides for Samsung device owners to repair their own phones and tablets, which is a great thing, I think. I'm going to read a view. If your Samsung Galaxy S21 is acting wonky, I've never had a problem with mine. Samsung says it wants to help you avoid spending lots of money at a repair shop this summer, so it hasn't happened yet. The company will launch a new program to ship you the parts, tools, and repair guides and let you fix your own device. I think that's great. The program is starting small. Only owners of the Samsung Galaxy S21 and Galaxy S20 range of devices and the Galaxy Tab S7, not the Tab 8, will be eligible first. The company plans to add more devices, but declined to say when or which gadgets, like its latest Samsung Galaxy S22 family, which would be added first, which tells me the programmers are still working on it. There's got to be a heck of a lot of testing to do, too. Self-repair website iFixit is consulting with Samsung to improve iFixit's repair guides and parts offerings, though the extent of the partnership is unclear. Still, bringing iFixit on board lends the program some cachet, given the site's guidelines and support for consumers' right to repair their own devices. Yes, I think it was very smart to bring iFixit in on it. Eligible device owners will be able to replace their front screens, glass backs, and charging ports with more repair options added at some point in the future. Once new parts are installed, customers are encouraged to return the used parts to Samsung for recycling. That's a good idea. Though Samsung is pitching the self-repair program as a more sustainable solution than buying a new phone, yeah, that's true. It's also convenient for people who want to tinker with their devices. For anyone who doesn't want to go through the trouble themselves, the company still offers a network of authorized repair shops across the U.S., and this I never knew, and a same-day repair service, including vans that'll visit consumers to fix devices. Wow. I'm guessing that's only in the big cities, but I didn't even know they had that. Samsung's program comes amid increasing pressure from advocates and governments pushing tech companies to let consumers fix their phones. More than a dozen U.S. states have passed laws supporting right to repair, and U.S. President Joe Biden issued an executive order in July for the Federal Trade Commission to investigate the issue. Yeah, I think that's great. And with the European Union passing a measure a year ago that requires manufacturers of some appliances to provide guides and parts for third-party repair shops, the tide is turning on right to repair. Big tech companies are responding to that pressure, and some beat Samsung to the punch. After years of allowing Apple product owners to fix their devices only at Apple stores and authorized repair shops or have their warranties invalidated, Apple announced its own self-repair program back in November. Yeah, they were ahead of Samsung.
Yeah, they announced the heck out of it, but where is it?
Yeah, well, it's the same with Samsung. Samsung's isn't here yet either. Sometime this year, Apple hasn't confirmed the launch date. Consumers can request their own set of Apple parts to fix their phones. I just hope it comes for both sooner than later, but I think it's certainly going in the right direction. Oh, and by the way, I happened to see a video yesterday or the day before. You know who's getting sued like crazy for not letting people fix their own stuff? Who's the big...
the big kahuna?
No, the big maker of farm equipment, the biggest maker of farm equipment in the country.
Oh, John Deere?
John Deere. John Deere is getting sued. The guy said it's and this guy.
How dare they?
This guy has a business which does repairs. Well, it turns out somebody sued John Deere for not providing. John Deere says they provide you the parts and right. Well, it turns out they don't. So one guy sued them. Well, now there's 14 other people that are suing them at the same time for the same thing.
Wow.
So,
I wish I owned a
John
tractor.
Deere is in court trying to climb out of it. And it sounds like they're not going to be able to get out of this.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it.
No, it sounds like they're straight up lying to people.
Yeah,
I just thought that was interesting.
Why say that? I mean, like, I know a lot of companies have that policy to where you got to go through the process to be like a certified or an authorized, not just dealer, but
more
repairer.
money if they don't if they don't let you do it, they're going to make more money.
Right, but saying that, and then no one told them, hey, maybe this isn't not a good idea, because
and it sounded like they said it
everyone
from
loves
this
suing
first
everybody.
guy that's suing them, and the judge is already not believing them. So I think they're going to have to come through, and they're probably going to have to pony up with a lot of money for lying in the first place. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I gather for years their manuals and stuff has said, well, yeah, we'll give you the tools and blah, blah, blah. And turns out they don't.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was interesting. Okay, moving on. I'm going to let you take this story. You know which story this is, yes?
Let's see here. iPhone SE not
That's
selling
the story.
well. Yeah. And man, I went on the Tech Unlocked podcast with Taylor and Benji, and oh man, yeah, this was the one. This was the story. Apple reportedly slashes iPhone SE 2022, and they specified, just in case we're talking about any of the other identical
which
SEs. Let me turn on reader mode here. Okay. Production due to low interest. Oh no, you don't say. I wonder why. A new report suggests Apple has cut iPhone SE production by as much as 20%. Now that's a lot.
That is a lot.
I know their estimates were already high, and then that just makes this 20% chunk out of that even bigger. Allegedly, Apple made the decision due to lower than expected interest in the device. Now, again, how did they expect, with a price hike, no less, to move even more units in still a pandemic that we're in?
Yeah, the only reason I can figure is because the last one sold so well. But yeah, I mean, you got to take the pandemic and everything else, and the fact that you're charging $30 more for this one.
10%. What is that? Just under 10? I think 10% more, somewhere around there, give or take. And then taxes on that. So that's even another larger bump too. The new iPhone SE is more expensive than the 2020 model, but looks the same and does most of the same stuff. That's part of
the problem. I guarantee you that.
Right? Yeah, for sure. And it does, most of the same stuff. It's slightly better, but that price hike, and I mean, I know it's a smaller community of people who, like us, try to keep up on the leaks and rumors and what have you, and every other video and article that I've seen, they're like, you know what, $20, $50 price cut, maybe, like, it seems likely, it makes sense, and then they went the complete opposite way.
Exactly. One of them, I think, every video I saw up until right after the first week after they released it, they all said it's not worth it. Everybody said that.
And one of them, I think, was as optimistic as to say, hey, maybe the first ever sub $200 brand new Apple iPhone, right? At a $199. If they were to drop it down, then heck no, they went almost to $1,000 right here for this thing. Earlier this month, Apple launched the newest budget-minded iPhone. Whose budget did they have in mind? That's my question. The phone
to them, it is budget-minded,
The phone comes with a few internal upgrades when compared to its predecessor, including a faster processor, bigger battery, and 5G support. The iPhone SE, however, looks exactly the same as the 2020 model. It's also more expensive, starting at $429 instead of $399. According to two sources, Apple has allegedly slashed production of this new iPhone. The report suggests production could have dropped by about 20%. Both reports affirm that it is unlikely the ongoing global chip shortage had much to do with the changes. Instead, it appears lower than expected demand for the iPhone is to blame. It doesn't seem that any single issue is a source of this, though. High gas prices, the war in Ukraine, COVID-19 lockdowns, and inflation have all been thrown around as possible reasons. However, one can't deny that a more expensive phone that looks exactly like the one from 2017, which looks exactly like the ones from 13 even, I think
2013,
14,
yeah.
just might not have the big draw Apple anticipated. Oh, geez. Android Authority is in the middle of reviewing the newest SE device, so we can't say much about the phone itself. Today's news, though, does point to consumer interest not living up to Apple's expectations. Of course, that doesn't mean the iPhone SE is or will be a flop. It means that Apple probably overestimated how interesting this phone would be to consumers. Now, when was the last one that came out? The one that this one
17.
replaced?
2017.
So that's... Wow, really? They didn't update it for that long?
Yeah, it's been that long.
For
That kind of surprised me too, but
5
it has been that long.
Wow. And so when's the next one coming? Because if the goal is to move units, obviously over time,
Right.
so that it's not a flop, it's going to require a whole heck of a lot of time. And I'm thinking, well, the last one was 5 years ago. Are they going to keep this one around for 5 more years?
2028, maybe 2027.
I mean, if you're Apple, I mean, are you going to lower the price, or are you going to keep it on shelves and on websites?
Yeah.
One website for however long that you need to, so that this is not a bad idea, so that this
The
pays
smart
off.
thing to do would be to lower the price, and whenever they do make a new one, lower the price a little bit. You probably sell like hotcakes.
What we had, the conclusion we came to is that it would make more sense. I mean, at least to keep it at the same price. Whether
Exactly.
like the second that this came up, like, hey, let's $29 more, $30 more. I was like, no, eat that, because you'll move more units, and at the risk, every dollar above the existing price, since you're getting essentially the same phone. Sure, it's the today version of that phone, but
Exactly.
In the number of the units moved that you're going to lose, and also what you would gain by keeping that initial, like say someone getting an iPhone for the first time, this is probably going to be the one that they would have grabbed, right? Because
Exactly.
who wouldn't want to get a brand new iPhone directly from Apple, because that adds just a little bit better than from Best Buy, from Target, from everyone sells new phones nowadays, right? Everyone has them, but from the source, to get people that are maybe it's their first cell phone ever, maybe it's their first cell phone in the Apple ecosystem, and there's that word again. And you're able to get not just accessories from them, like that chance to upsell and cross-sell and get them in and locked into services.
And you're pulling them into the ecosystem.
You're going to get that $30 back. And I mean, what's $30 is what we're paying now.
Spades, you can count on it.
Yeah, and we're getting that I think the top tier for Apple's bundle, I think is $30, $29, $35 a month or something like that.
I don't know.
So you would get that in just 1 month of or maybe give them free trials. I don't know. No one saw it happening. No one that maybe saw it happening thought it was a good idea. Now that we've seen that it happened, we know it's not a good idea. Apple seemingly
now it's going to be interesting to see if will they include this in a subscription, because if they do, will it make a difference? It might, I guess.
I think. Well, see, okay. Now that's another.
That's a totally different ball game.
Because I mean, most of people who are buying phones, like myself, we get the 0% financing, carrier financing, because why not? Other than some of them, they require you to pay the tax up front, but other than maybe the tax, and then I guess depending on the storage amount, maybe you pay that additional chunk above the base models down too. You're going to be. We're already conditioned to pay $20, $40, maybe $50, $60 a month anyways, in perpetuity.
And everybody's saying the subscription service is going to depend on what they charge you a month. And that's where Apple's got to be smart about it. And knowing Apple, I'm pretty sure they probably will be.
I think, and you figure their existing iPhone upgrade program, when I was a part of it, you include Apple Care Plus. So that's already bundled in there, and I believe it was for the top spec phone, top storage, $40, maybe $44 a month. Now is Apple, because they're going to do it directly, maybe even with who's the Apple Card? What's the bank they have the Apple Card with?
I forgot the bank. I should remember because they're
Goldman
always sending
Sachs,
me
right?
emails.
Is it Goldman
Oh,
Sachs?
it's Goldman. Yeah, I think you're right.
If maybe if they partner with them because they've had that relationship now for a while, or if it's, I mean, because I imagine if it would be something in-house with Apple's services like the Apple Card, are they more inclined then to pass the savings on to consumers? Because while like if it's the same price, I guess I could see maybe people opting to go and
Well, keep in mind, this is a
subscribe
very
to a
iffy
phone.
situation because after a year of the subscription, let's say you don't own the phone, Apple still owns the phone, but most people aren't going to care because they're going to get a brand new phone.
Yeah, they trade it in anyways, and we take a loss
Exactly.
on that because it's also not worth it usually for us, for the time, effort, and energy, risk for getting scams to sell it, third party ourselves,
but
and it's just not worth
every
it. So
article I've seen, they're all saying it's going to be a bank. So it's probably going to be Goldman Sachs again, I would think.
Yeah. So, but what would be What would be the obviously if they can do it at a cheaper price, then that's going to work.
Exactly.
But if they do it at least at the same price, bundling Apple Care Plus, similar to
that would be a good idea.
With all of the products of their hardware, not the iPhone upgrade program is only iPhones, but if you could get an iPad financed at no interest with Apple Care Plus for tablets, Apple Care Plus for headphones, for maybe even a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, then that's where I could really see that would be, you're getting this for a flat fee, very little to nothing up front, and it's direct from Apple, and you're getting that insurance bundle with.
You're going to get a new one as soon as the subscription.
As soon as there's a new one, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Then that makes sense. But now, if they want to charge like they did with the SE, a premium for that seemingly really good deal, then that's where it gets tricky, I think, because now.
But I'm thinking they're going to have learned a lesson from this. Don't you think they're going to have learned a lesson? Because Apple's used to having their way with prices. In this case, they're not getting their way.
They're lowering their production of it, so they're lowering the amount that they expect to move, not the price that people are expecting to pay.
That's true. But for the future, I'm thinking.
Then sure.
Probably learned.
Well, I mean, we're hoping so. I am, because I'm biased, and you already know that. Yeah, if I can get my hands on as much Apple, for at least of my apples, then sure.
And for me, even though I skipped the iPhone 13, well, I plan to get an iPhone 14, because I skipped the 13. So I'm pretty sure I'll be getting one, but I don't pay money. I just pay it up front and I'm done.
Yeah, because you got the Pro Max, right? Did you go big?
No, I have the Pro. Not the
12 Pro?
12 Pro, yeah.
Did you get Pacific Blue?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, because I still got, I went Pro Max, but I still got it with the little tiny baby camera bulb. Look at that. Oh, my goodness.
Black case off.
That is so small already. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I get to take it out of the case every now and then. It's one of their best colors in, man, like a decade almost. I mean,
I would have gotten a clear case, but I got this.
It's extra money.
I got this from Tudia for free, so
you can't beat free.
Exactly.
I think the last, I think I mentioned before, the Pacific Blue that I liked was that gold from the 5S, where it was like an actual, like a gold, not a rose or a
rose gold. Yeah, because everybody else makes rose gold.
And all the rose golds have been different too. Those haven't even been.
They certainly have. They certainly have. Anyway, so it's just going to be interesting to see what they do with the subscription service. Okay, this one I found interesting. I'll take this one. Okay, this is Mr. Musk. This guy will always express his opinion, and I think he's usually pretty honest about it too. Yeah. This was on CNN Business. Elon Musk says he's seriously considering creating a new social media platform. So let's go into read review.
Why not? He's doing everything else nowadays.
That's true. Elon Musk says he has given serious thought to creating a new media platform in a tweet Saturday. Musk's tweet follows criticism of Twitter, where he claimed the platform doesn't allow for free speech. Given that Twitter serves as the de facto public, this is him talking, public town square, failing to adhere to free speech principles fundamentally undermines democracy, Musk tweeted Friday. What should be done? He then asked if a new platform is needed. A 2018, this is still in effect. The 2018 agreement with the SEC requires that Musk gain pre-approval from other Tesla executives prior to posting tweets about the company.
Oh, wow.
But see, in this case, he's not posting tweets about the company,
Right.
so he can. After Musk asked his Twitter followers in November if he should sell a 10% of his stake in the Tesla, the electric vehicle company received a subpoena from the SEC because the poll question triggered a stock sell-off. What he should have known that would happen, which CEO has called harassment. I think they're right in that case. I'm sure his board was very unhappy about that, and they took care of it. Earlier this week, in response to Musk challenging the subpoena, an SEC regulator urged a federal judge to allow his tweets to continue to be scrutinized. I agree. Musk's motion to quash is procedurally defective and substantively meritless, the SEC said. If he proceeds with launching a platform of his own, Musk would join a growing list of public figures and technology companies who are ditching established social media networks and creating their own platforms, often championing free speech. Former President Donald Trump, who has been banned from Twitter since January 2021, notably launched the Truth Social in February as part of the Trump Media and Technology Group. I didn't even know there was a Trump Media and Technology Group.
Yeah, me neither, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Rumble, Parler, Getter, Getter, I guess is one of the newer ones, and other services have also formed as alternatives to mainstream social networks. Parler was removed from Apple's App Store amid allegations that January 6 rioters used the platform to incite violence. It was reinstated in April after improvements were made by the company to better detect and moderate hate speech. But in my opinion, if Musk launched his own, I'll bet you that would instantly pass all those others.
Yeah, for sure. He's got a cult following.
Yeah, he's got a huge following. And let's face it, a lot of people have a lot of respect for Musk, including me. I mean, sometimes I disagree with him, but what I like about Elon Musk is basically the same thing I like about Charles Barkley. He says what he thinks, and he's honest about it. That's one thing I love about Elon Musk, and that's one thing I love about Charles Barkley.
Yeah, it's almost like you're not. And I mean, I'm able to tie this back to like comedy, where people can't joke anymore or be humorous, and it's like a lot of that times that's just a thought I had. That's just whether it's a thought that I agree with or not. Sometimes people just
justified or not.
It's a knee jerk reaction. It's like, well, this is what popped in my head. I mean, do you see what I see? Are you able to think of it, from my point of view, a different way of thinking? And it's just this one sliver of communication and how we all communicate, especially now that we're some would even say, over-connected, hyper-connected.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That if I, even say, recently, I was just watching or re-listening to, I don't know if you remember the Amazon logo debacle, front page text, John Prosser, just one little tiny tweet of a thought that he had, because it was that tape gun, where you use a tape gun and then you rip the tape at the bottom, and the new logo was the side of the box with the tape, and because the Amazon smile, he said this, it said this app looks like it's the third most downloaded in the Reich section, because it looked, and it was good. I was like, oh,
it didn't look like that.
Yeah. It looked like a certain leader from Germany, historic figure at the time, and it blew up. The tweet got away from him. Everyone anyone that can grab something like that and ran with it. It was in the news cycle for a while, and then again after some other people who don't normally watch the news. He got like a secondary wave, like a week or couple weeks after, of everyone else that saw it late, and how the heck, what?
Yeah, well, what happens? The people that don't follow social platforms, then they see it on the news 2 days later, and it starts all over again.
But another thing, it was like, if you have eyes, then you can see what he meant, what he's talking about, and just how again, it was a new design. You download, you want to update Amazon, sure, update it. Go do something else, and you swipe to it, and you're like, oh, what the heck? That looks like so and so,
but
right?
The person who made it didn't even see that until he said it.
And any other person who had oversight in that, I wonder how many pairs of eyes
it got passed and nobody saw it,
and nobody. It went out like that.
Shouted it out or anything.
When I first saw it, I thought it was like, I'm like, this isn't real. Is this real? And like, this is not real. It's like, oh snap! And I updated mine. I was like, oh, it is. And I mean, it's just a laugh. You know, we're allowed to have.
How long did it last?
The news cycle, or that they had until they changed it, because they did change it.
The
They
news
changed
cycle.
it. Probably the rest of that week. I think 1 week.
And how long did it take them to change it?
Let's see. There's dates on that. Let me see here. How long?
Now, of course, you inspired me. You said there's dates on it, and I'm thinking, but there were no figs on it, huh? Just dates. Okay. That's me all the way.
Here we go. So BBC, Amazon changes app logo that, quote, resembles Adolf Hitler.
Right.
And then they show the two logos, the old one, the new one, and then a picture of a young Adolf here. It says quickly changed his logo. Launched in January. The icon depicts a strip of blue tape over an Amazon Smile logo. Here, I think I can send this to you. I'll send this. Let me do a copy, and then am I allowed to post a link in the?
I can go find it.
Here, let me do it right here.
Okay, I'll let you do it.
I'll put it in the comments for every. Or no, I can't put it in the comments.
You can put it in the private chat.
Yeah, if it lets me. Oh, maybe not. Let's see here. Oh, come on. Why aren't you working? Copy paste. I said copy.
Okay.
Oh, it's not working.
All right. Well, anyway, I'm not worried about it. But so how long was it?
Launched in January. The icon depicts a strip of blue tape, yada yada yada, and then technology giant now changed to a blue folded tape. March. So what is that? 2 months?
2 months. Okay.
Just within 2 months.
Yeah, I totally missed that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Interesting.
But again, that's just
and nobody sued Prosser or anything, did they?
I don't think so. No, I mean, well, you can sue anyone for anybody, but it doesn't mean you'll win.
Yeah.
But that whole thing, to where, just for tying this back to what we were saying, like Elon, one of the things that whether you like him for it or hate him for it, that one is a constant, right? Where he's him, and sometimes it does take someone like that. I mean, we've had. I'm sure they people have, again, whether you like him or not, you have different words for him, but maybe he's a little crazy, maybe he's some kind of a lunatic, visionary, genius, a little bit
I'd say he's all the above
out there, right? Sometimes there's where those all meet, boom, you're able to have like that one in a however many generation. I mean,
exactly.
I would even make that comparison to Steve Jobs.
But see, one thing that makes Musk special is that there are times when he's honest about his feelings and he's on the liberal side, and then there's other times he's honest about his feelings, he's on the conservative side. I like that kind of honesty.
Yeah, because of also how he someone like him thinks. I mean, he's an engineer, really, right at heart, and
exactly.
And I mean, I know that's a broad statement, because there's also a bunch of different types of engineers that you can have. But I mean, some of the things that he's doing, it's going to take a different way of looking at things and thinking about things and seeing different things that maybe aren't even there.
Right.
To be able to
I can remember
to have those ambitions to go to outer space. Like, what the heck? And they're doing it. They go every other week.
Engineers programmers think different. I can remember in my first job in programming back in 81, 82, and one of the guys that I worked with, and he would come back from a meeting with the users, and he'd say, those users are so stupid. And I'd say, well, maybe if you explained it to them in English and stop talking, programmer language and thinking that they're the ignorant ones. Who's ignorant here?
And that's the layman's, right? The layman's term, and then the professional, and that can be applied with a bunch of stuff. I mean, we're all ignorant. Exactly. We're all ignorant to what the heck we don't know. I mean, if I started talking to George about maybe music, I know music we have in common, but if I started going into the technical aspects of DJing and mixing and
I would know nothing.
Maybe I would lose you there, but yeah,
exactly.
We all don't know what we don't know, and sometimes we do know what we don't know.
Even something as simple as being a born again Christian, right? One thing that irks me is when, just like everybody else, Christians, especially church-going Christians, they have what I call Christianese. It's this kind of language that they talk in. And then they go outside and expect everybody who's not Christian to understand it. Well, talk to them in English, you know.
Like when people visit Mexico and all the foreigners there, then they don't communicate properly, right? It's like, hey, hello, you don't understand me? Hello, English. It's like you're the foreigner in this situation, you know.
Right, exactly.
Make the effort. I'm sure most of us would pick up, like, we don't even realize secondhand Spanish, at least, because that's really what's more popular. But you know, tacos and baño and bebida, you know, stuff like that.
Well, one way I was able to bring it home to that other guy, that program that I was talking about, he was more experienced than me, but I would say, keep in mind, the people you're calling stupid are the people responsible for what we get paid. And that would kind of stop it.
Yeah.
I've always said in any company, especially big company, you know, people complain about the marketing people get so much money. Well, it's the marketing people that make everybody get paid. So why shouldn't they get so much money? That's how I look at it.
It's the oh, here we go. Finally, I was able to. I wonder why that didn't work. I was copy pasting. Yeah, copy pasting from the share button didn't work, but copy paste from the address bar, the physical address bar itself, that worked.
Now, how'd you send it?
Oh, I messaged it to you, and it's in the chat. It's in the.
Oh, I don't see it in the chat.
Oh, maybe.
But I did get the message. I heard it come in though. Sometimes
the links get blocked. I don't know if you need special provisions to do it. I was going to say something, but I forgot what we were talking about. What was the last thing you said?
I was talking about speaking in English.
Englishese?
Yeah, I was saying.
I had the thought, and then it got away from me.
Okay, hey, you're getting older too, you know.
Apparently, we all are.
Exactly. And
believe me,
it beats the alternative.
Yeah, the one where we're the oldest we've ever been, and we're the youngest we'll ever be.
That's true.
That's every single second of every single day. Isn't that
very logical?
How incredible
as logical as it gets. That makes perfect sense. All right, I'm ready to move on to the next story, if that's okay.
Oh, we still have more stories?
Yeah.
You know what? Because you read that entire that review thing. I would have just skipped to the hot points, you know, the bullet points.
That's how we're all different. You know how us old folks are. You know.
So before we leave that last story, would you join the new Elon Musk Tesla thing? Just because you want a front row seat of that man's brain, right?
I tend to trust Elon Musk. That's true. Even though he's nuts sometimes, I tend to admire and trust him. So yeah, I hope he does it, and I'll join first chance I get.
He's a very fascinating individual, definitely.
Yes, he is.
I think because also he's a little bit out there like we are.
Well,
I mean, it's turned the heck up and under a magnifying glass for sure.
That's true.
But we can relate. We're like, I can kind of see the gears turning.
Anybody who's artist or artsy or music,
creative,
we understand these people because we're all. I remember years ago,
weirdos.
A friend of mine who lived in Queens, he used to have a big barbecue once a year, invite all the musicians and producers and songwriters, and everybody would show up, a couple of hundred people. And we had a discussion one day about how different all of us musicians, and especially those of us who are songwriters, think. And we all agreed that generally all of us songwriters and musicians can be a real pain in the butt to the general public. But we also agreed they need to put up with us because we bring them something that they don't have. That was how the discussion ended. You know,
we're a necessary evil.
Yeah, today I would probably not come to that conclusion as a Christian, but that was the conclusion we came to. Yeah, we're a pain in the butt, but you got to deal with us because we bring you music. That's how we ended, you know. All right, I'm ready to move on. So I'm going on to the next story. This is you want to read this? You want me to do it?
I can do it.
You
Google
and you
might
can, you can skip around too.
Google might finally let Play Store users break out of its billing system.
Yeah,
Oh, this is
which I
interesting. I
think
had
is
not heard
great.
of this one. Google just made a move that could give Android users more choice, and now they pay for stuff on the Google Play Store and within apps. The company has tied up with Spotify to introduce user choice billing in a first of its kind partnership. Google is also working with other developers to test third party billing in the Play Store that will allow users to bypass its own billing system. Google and Spotify have announced a first of its kind partnership that will give. Okay, did I already said that? Okay, music
That
streaming
was
service.
just
I thought it was a duplicate.
no, it wasn't.
Uh, let's see and skip the ads. Users who have downloaded Spotify from the Google Play Store will soon get an option to pay either with Google's billing system or Spotify's payment method. This is the first time that Google is allowing a third-party payment method for in-app purchases, marking a drastic shift in how it has done business for years. The company currently controls payments in the Play Store to get a commission, usually between 15 and 30%. It's also good news for Android users as the partnership with Spotify could be a precursor to a much wider availability of third-party billing access across the Play Store. In fact, Google said as much in a blog post to developers. Google's new pilot program to test user choice billing will allow a small number of participating apps to offer an additional billing option next to Google Play's billing. Spotify is Google's first partner in this endeavor. Quote, this is a significant milestone and the first on any major app store, whether on mobile, desktop, or gaming consoles. Vice President of Product Management at Google said in the post. Meanwhile, in a press release announcing the tie-up, Spotify said that it's working with Google's engineering team to roll out the new billing experience in countries around the world. We've emailed Spotify to ask which countries will get the option first and if Google will still get a cut of the purchases made through the third-party system.
Yeah.
Is that the end?
I think that's very, very cool, and the app developers will get a break.
I was expecting that they would have said Spotify has yet to respond or reach out, something like that.
No. So I think it's great. So and it sounds like Google's already committed to to bringing in more developers on this. So I think it's great.
If they actually do something with it, I mean, you figure how much more different is this than, say, an operating system? Because a lot of us and the community have kind of been maybe whelmed at most or even underwhelmed at how a company, a giant, right, as large as Google is, and with their own operating system, with their own phones, at least from what I've been hearing, that there's so much more that they could have done and fairly easily with, again, a company of their size with the resources that they have.
Right.
And again,
but keep
with
in
their
mind,
own,
this is about the 30% commission that they get because they won't let other people use their own billing systems.
yeah.
So
Right.
it's going to end up being Apple and Google are going to have to give in.
Maybe. I mean,
I don't think it's a maybe because the EU is going to make sure it happens. You can count on it. The EU hates these companies.
I would say, well, then, I mean, who has the more?
Who has the power? In Europe, the EU does. I don't care how big Apple or Google are. The EU will always get their way in the end. Otherwise, they'll have to stop doing business there, and that's not going to happen.
Now we would have to again see. Now all these questions pop up. Like, in what scenario would it be worth it to abandon business there? And then again, you know what I mean? Like, if they can't come into an agreement, now I'm curious at what would need to happen for either the EU to give in.
I don't think that's even a possibility because you're talking billions of dollars a year that they'd give up. Billions of dollars a year. That's not going to happen. These people are in business to make money. So that's why I say the EU is going to say. Now, I have written many stories on my website about how I kind of think the EU is unfair to Apple and Google and Microsoft, but they're going to get their way. It's what they do,
Now, how long will it take and how much money and time will be spent in those courts? Because you have these companies, they don't just, roll over.
Right. No, I think what will happen is in the next, I would suspect 2 years, both Apple and Google, I'm not saying they're going to have to give up all of their fees, but they're going to have to let these people have their own billing systems to a degree. And Apple and Google will probably still require a fee. It's just not going to be 30% anymore. Because that's what these developers object to, the 30%. It's just too much money.
Or you would take off and stop hosting these, other third-party people on your apps and Play Store.
Yeah,
right?
But these third-party people are the ones who also, especially in Google's case, develop an awful lot. And well, even in Apple's case, they both, they have an awful lot of really good apps developed by people who are not part of their company. So it would be like cutting their own throat. I think the smart thing for both of them to do would be say, okay, use your own billing app, but you still got to give us 10%. I would think that would be fair to me.
Because they're still being hosted and still available.
Yeah, it's still our platform, and you're still
millions and millions of users on millions and millions of devices.
Exactly. That's why you never hear me complain about whatever YouTube does, because they don't have to give me access to people all over the world, but they do. So I'm not going to complain. A lot of other people complain. I'm not going to complain. Now, admittedly, I'm not much of a complainer in general, but when it comes to YouTube, they're giving me free access to people all over the world and allowing me to make a little money from them. I'm not going to complain about that ever.
And so the 30% you think is too high for these companies that are still raking in millions and millions and millions?
No, I think it's too high for the millions, for the thousands, I should say, or hundreds of thousands of small developers who also have to pay that 30%. That's who I think it's too high for, and that's going to be the majority of developers. Most developers are not gigantic companies.
But they have, I think, what was it? It's under X amount of dollars, it's 15, and then above an X amount, it's 30. Or is it the opposite?
Only did that a year and a half ago. Before that, everybody played 7%. It didn't matter how many dollars. But yeah, that's a step in the right direction. But I still think they need to, keep it an amount of dollars.
That's similar to the tax.
All the little guys make it a lot more cheaper.
That's right, because that's similar to then the tax brackets and all of that stuff that we have to navigate over here too, right? It's like
but keep in mind, we're always hearing how the rich don't pay any taxes, and in reality, the rich pay more taxes than anybody else in this country by a ton, and people don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
So, what I've found to be, when it comes to money, economists the world over know more about taxes than anybody else. And who never, ever listens to economists? Politicians. Yeah. They don't want to hear it, because economists always give them the facts, and they always have the stats to back it up. Politicians don't want to hear any of that stuff. No politician doesn't. I don't care what party they're in.
Well, we know how it happens, unfortunately.
They're good at making promises and making them sound good. The facts just don't matter as long as they get reelected. That's all that counts. Anyway, down to my last story. Hey, this timing is working out right, all thanks to you being here, because I would have been done an hour ago on my own.
You would have speed run through it?
I'm going to do it. This is a short story anyway.
I think maybe you still would have taken a bit long. Don't give me all the credit.
All right, I'm not going to give you cash, so I have to give you credit. Oh,
come on.
All right, this is on Computer World. HP to acquire Poly for $3.3 billion. HP takes aim at the hybrid working trend with its purchase of the video and audio equipment specialist Poly. Oh, and I titled this, HP acquires Poly, jump into the teleconferencing meeting fray. So let's go into reader mode. Okay. HP has announced it's acquiring Poly, a company that specializes in video and audio equipment, for a purchase price of $1.7 with a total transaction value of $3.3 billion, including debt. So they're taking on this $1.7 billion plus whatever debt Poly has.
Oh, wow.
The deal is expected to close by the end of 2022. The acquisition is set to accelerate HP's foray into the world of hybrid work, coming 8 months after the company purchased a remote desktop software provider, Teradici. And I tend to say, I said "chi" because I tend to say things the way Italians would, because I was raised with Italian, so I tend to pronounce it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then you eat pizza afterwards, right?
That's true. I'm from Jersey. What do you expect? Founded in 1990 and originally in Polycom, the company was acquired by headset maker Plantronics in 2019, which I didn't know. After which the two newly merged companies rebranded themselves as Poly. Since then, the company has focused on providing enterprise-grade collaboration products such as meeting room speakers and cameras, webcams, headsets, and software. In a press release announcing the acquisition, HP said the two companies will be coming together to deliver a complete ecosystem of devices, software, and digital services, all aimed at enhancing the employee experience, increasing workplace productivity, and improving hybrid work environments for its enterprise customers. The rise of the hybrid office creates a once-in-a-generation opportunity to redefine the way work gets done, said Enrique Lourdes, president and CEO of HP. Combining HP and Poly creates a leading portfolio of hybrid work solutions across large and growing markets. Poly's strong technology, complementary go-to market, and talented team will help to drive long-term profitable growth as we continue to build a stronger HP. As organizations look to cement their hybrid and remote work policies, technology continues to be a key differentiator between employee work experience both at home and in the office. It's not just home workers who are looking to upgrade their equipment. Frost & Sullivan's State of the Global Video Conferencing Devices Market Report found that traditional office spaces are being reconfigured, I didn't know this, to support hybrid work and collaboration, with a particular focus being placed on meeting room solutions. As a result, the office meeting room solutions segment is expected to triple by 2024. Charlotte Truman is a staff writer at computer. Oh, that was just her bio. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting that, and I was surprised that Plantronics was part of this. I always thought of them as like a headphone company and stuff.
Crazy, man. That's and that the size of the deal, just the sheer size of that, I didn't realize that,
Well, it just
have a valuation so high.
Here's another opportunity, basically created because of COVID. These people are finding ways to make money on it, and more power to them. Especially,
wouldn't we all? We all would want to, right? Yeah,
exactly. No, I think they're doing the right thing, and everybody has a chance to make money. And I think the fact that a lot of people have a chance to work from home and stop going to the office and still get as much or more work done is a great thing. So those are the few good things that have come out of the whole COVID stuff. Mm-hmm. Just my opinion. So anyway, let me bring up the last thing because Ted would get very upset if I didn't show glowing rectangles. So I'm going to show glowing rectangles as I always do. So any of you who are here who've never seen glowing rectangles, let me get rid of this.
Okay. Oh, what are you into?
I never saw that before. So if you want exposure for your own videos, for your own blog or somebody else's, you can always post it here at Reddit. Oh, let me take my thing off, blocking that. Okay. It's at reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. This was started by some gadget guy, Juan Bagnell, and he did it specifically so that more people could get more exposure to the public. A place to talk about all the best tech toys. So if you go here, if you put a story here, people get a chance to upvote it or downvote it every day. Look at that. Oh, that's pinned by moderators. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Juan had a competition going for the brand elimination challenge. Tony is our winner. He's already got 29 upvotes. Now, of course, he had this competition going for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. But anyway, so you can upvote it. I don't know anybody who downvotes anything. But every day you can go and post something and upvote or downvote it. Somebody can paste it for you, post it for you. And it can be a video or a blog. And it's just a great way to get more exposure for yourself and or other people. So I try to every week let people know that glowing rectangles exist, and you can put stuff there to get the public to see your stuff. So,
and what a great name!
That's our show for tonight. Huh?
What a great name, glowing rectangles. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, Juan thought of that, I guess, and Juan is just, in my opinion, just a great guy all the way around.
Agreed.
So, yeah. So I just think, and knowledgeable as all get out.
I'll be honest. It took me a while to figure out like why the heck is it called that, and I just my mind like many of the days it's at 5 places at once, and then it really had to I really had to hone in on that. I was like, oh wow, oh my goodness, and then I felt like this after I had figured it out, and I was like, that's so brilliant.
Yeah,
it took me a while. I'm not gonna lie.
He does tend to be kind of a brilliant guy, so that's good. And you have made it a very good show tonight. A very good show.
Right. Hey, thanks, man. Well, you know what? Thank you for having me again. Your show, really. So we this wouldn't have happened if you didn't have the show to begin with, and then.
So I guess what I should say is thank you for letting me be myself again. I used to sing that in the band. So.
Yeah. Well, no copyright.
People think the lyrics to that are thank you for letting me be myself. No, if you look at the printed lyrics on the album, it says thank you for letting me be myself again. Which I always thought that was as cool as all get out.
Does that count as an Easter egg?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Most people don't know it. It's like that old badges. We don't need no stinking badges. You know that line?
Oh yeah.
When I ask people what movie that's from, they always say the wrong movie because it's from a 1949 movie with Humphrey Bogart. But I seem to be the only person who knows this. And the name of the movie is Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
You know what? For as far as like old Hollywood, there's a list of like these like masterpiece movies that I've never really ever seemed to get like to carve out time.
I would highly recommend Treasure of the Sierra. It's about two guys who go to Mexico, in 1930 or whatever it was. I think it's during the Depression, and they meet this other old prospector, and they go out into the desert in the mountains, and they find gold. And the whole story is about Treasure of the Sierra Madre. That's the mountains, the Sierra Madre Mountains. And it shows what kind of greed goes through people, turns people from this kind of person to that kind of great movie. Maybe Humphrey Bogart's best movie ever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, in addition to finding out like how the heck and when you're gonna like carve out that much time for something like that, especially with these old movies that they're not just an hour, they're not just an hour and a half. These when feature lengths, featured a length.
Yeah,
of,
and it's tough
film.
fun. Yeah, and as much as you're into your stuff and your tech, and much as it's hard to find it. I watched half of the new West Side Story. And the original West Side Story is one of my favorite movies. I've watched that movie like over 60 times. And I didn't even get to, and the new version is good, but I just couldn't find the time to get back to it. I will one of these days, but it's tough to find the time for this stuff. Especially now that Formula One racing season is here and IndyCar racing season is here, which I'm not going to miss any of those. Those are my two favorite sports. And I don't catch them always on Sunday. But by Wednesday or Thursday, I will have watched whatever race is on that week.
I wonder how many people are like me to where sometimes there's just so much and too much going on to where I'm just,
it's hard.
Let me watch some reruns and then like miss all of that just to keep
exactly. It just goes by. I miss half of football season because of it. I see pieces of games, and that's about all I get to see anymore. But I'm also enjoying what I do, so I can't complain. I'm very blessed, and I know it.
I know the highlight reels come in clutch.
Brian says, have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks for being here, Brian.
And we're going to get out of here.
We're done.
On time. And everybody thank Mark for coming in, because Mark always makes it a more fascinating and more interesting show. So thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you again for having me.
And your quality of both audio and visual was excellent tonight. Glad you found the problem.
I forgot about that already.
And I didn't have any tech issues, and I didn't have any tech issues, and I thought I might, so I'm glad we didn't. All right, sir. So you have a wonderful, blessed weekend, and everybody have a blessed weekend. Thanks for coming in. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Renz. Thanks, Eleanor. Thank everybody. Thank you, Ted. and whoever else was here. I'm very happy that you were here, and we will see you next Friday.
See y'all. Have a